Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I just woke up, so my voice is a little bit like it's a bit, horsey, but welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee, and I just wanted to say something that has like really been on my heart, and it's basically that as a collective, we all have to learn to stop apologizing for wanting better for ourselves and for like doing the things that we need to do to create a better life for ourselves. Why do I say this? Well, basically last week I had just the most chaotic and stressful week like that I've had in a long time. I'm having just a lot of things come up that I need to take care of externally and, internally. And one of the things that came up in this whole, inner work process that I've been trying to deal with is that there's this level of almost feeling like, or at least people try to sometimes make you feel guilty for wanting better for yourself, for being happy, for putting yourself in a better situation. And it's like a weird concept to explain, but I can't help but notice this. And I got put in a situation where it almost felt like I was being made to feel guilty for, kind of being like in a better place, I guess you could say. And sometimes I feel like what happens is whenever we're trying to get to like the next phase of our life or, a better place in our life, we have this feeling like we want to take everybody with us. We want everybody to, level up at the same pace that we're going, or we want to bring everybody to where we are if we so decide that where we are is a better situation than where they are, which is sometimes an error because just because you want something, just because you think that a situation is better or a circumstance is better than another, doesn't mean that that's how somebody else feels. They can be content with where they are or just not ready to take that next step to be where they want to be. And, especially if you're somebody who identifies as an empath, right? Like you're sensitive to the feelings of other people. You want everybody to be happy. We kind of like take on other people's struggles and emotions as our own, and we want to just take their situation into our own hands and try to like control it or try to convince them that this way of doing things is better, that this way of living is better, that if they just did this one thing, their situation would improve. But guess what? Not everybody's ready to hear that. Not everybody's ready to do the work that they need to do on themselves to get to a better place. And it just is what it is. Everybody grows at their own pace, and it's not up to us to try to convince them or try to decide what's right for them. You have to let people kind of, do what they can. And the hard part about that is that it can be like really heartbreaking because you can see the solution to their issues so clearly sometimes, especially if you've taken the work to do, that like internal work on yourself. You want to just share all the things that share things that you believe would improve the quality of their life. Like, but not everybody is going to be receptive to that because, it's just the way that it is. But aside from that, you can't let that, like, you can't take on everybody's issues and feel that guilt about being in a better position than them. Like, that's not going to, or being just like happy. Like, you should never feel guilty for being happy, for being well, for doing what you had to do to be in a better place. Because you know what? I'm realizing, and it's just the truth that I get reminded of all the time, is that you never know what people are going through. You never know what they had to do to get to the position that they're in. How many times have we seen a celebrity or seen somebody who, is doing very well, and then it comes out that they went through XYZ, and you never would have known that because from the outside it looks like everything is good. Well, guess what? It's the same thing for everyday people. It doesn't have to be a celebrity. Nobody knows what you've gone through to get to where you are. And Everybody goes through hard times, okay? And like, if you're lucky enough to get on the other side of those things, or to get something that you want, or to move up and move forward in your life to be in a better place, you do not have to apologize for that. Nobody knows what you've gone through. Nobody knows the work that you've done on yourself to get to where you have to be. And that's definitely my case. Like, nobody really knows my story completely besides, like, I guess my close friends and my family. One second. But it's just so strange because it seems like even they seem to forget what I've had to go through to get to, where I am. And I'm not saying that I'm like in the best place in life and I'm better than everybody else. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just saying, like, once you start doing well, once you're happy, once you have a smile on your face and you've reached, like, a point in your life where things are going well finally, it's almost like people forget all the BS that you had to go through and all of the hardships that you faced just because you're doing well. And I was even talking to my cousin about this the other day, because I'm like, you know what? Sometimes, I don't even think it was my cousin. I ran into this stranger at the airport. We were just like pouring out our life stories to each other. And the woman is so damn strong. I love meeting women like this with stories, with depth, who overcame things and kept their faith, because that's really the secret. And I was saying, like, yeah, I'm only 20 something. Like, people look at me and they would never know the things that I've gone through. And I shared with her some of the more difficult things that I've gone through. And it's like, you never know what people are going through. And I was telling her that, today, in the present day, and even like in the past, I would say in the past 2 years, my life improved like significantly. Like, you wouldn't recognize me from the person that I was a few years ago to who I am today. I was just very, very traumatized in the past, and I just went through so much crazy shit that, borderline, I went crazy. And you would never know that. Like, you would never know that if you were meeting me today. And I was telling her that, somebody meets me today and they see how good I have it, and it comes off like I'm from this place of privilege and like everything has always been this way. Honey, no, it has not been this way. But you know what? I don't have to use my terrible things that I've gone through and my struggles to validate why I get to be happy, why I get to live my best life, why I deserve the blessings that I have now. I don't have to use that as my proof or my evidence that I am deserving of having a good life. You get to have a good life regardless. You get to have a good life if you decide that you get to have a good life. So let's stop apologizing for wanting better for ourselves. Let's stop feeling guilty. Yes, it's okay to be empathetic, to be compassionate, to want the best for other people as well. But at the same time, it's not your responsibility to force that upon other people or make people see things the way that you do, because everybody has to go on their own journey to get to that place sometimes. And I'm just so over the guilt and the shame that comes with that, because it's irrational. And it is kind of sometimes like the crab in the barrel thing, where it's almost like I'm somebody who believes in frequency. And I feel like sometimes it's like a weird phenomena where, like, it feels like people try to bring me to their frequency, and like, that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your circumstance and the people around you. But I've had to take a step back when I'm in reflection. I never really notice in the moment, but it's like almost a feeling of like people wanting to bring me to where they are. So for example, I just went on a trip, and the first half of the trip was stressful for my own personal reasons, right? The last day, everything was calm. I'm like, okay, things are turning around. It's going to be, we're going to end this trip on the right note. No, I basically got dragged into somebody else's fight. And it's just almost like when you're happy, sometimes people just want to bring you into their stress and into their like chaos and into their whirlwind of like negative emotions. And that's not fair. You can't always take on the responsibility of other people's, like, you can only be their, what's it called, like positive influence. And there's only so much that you can do. You can have a listening ear, you can encourage them, but it's not a rite of passage to bring yourself back down to that level. You do not have to do that to prove something, because like that isn't the way that it should be. And you should never feel guilty for being in a better place and not wanting to fall back into those old patterns, emotional routines of negative emotions, just because somebody that you care about is, or people around you are experiencing that. Like, you're responsible for your own frequency. You're responsible for the direction of your life, outside of the influence of your friends, outside of the influence of your family, of the people around you, of your circumstance. Guess what? It all falls on you. Your life falls on you. And I accepted that from a young age, from, I would say like 17 years old, because I went through the most. Like, I had a very challenging, early part of my life. And at one point I realized I'm responsible for my life. I can't blame my circumstance. I can't blame my parents. Like, I'm an adult now. It all falls on me where my life goes. And guess what? That's a hard pill to swallow, because it's easier to blame other people. It's easier to blame circumstances, but I had to do that inner work on my mind and on my spirit and have faith and rely on God only, and not people and not circumstances, to put me in a better place, because I was suffering. And you cannot put your suffering on other people or expect other human beings with their own flaws, with their own traumas, with their own things that they've gone through, to resolve those kinds of feelings for you. So, it's about accepting the responsibility for your own life and for your own happiness, for your own well-being. If you wake up in the morning and you're not happy with where your life is for whatever reason, guess what? You have to change that. You have to figure out what it takes to change that. I heard this a piece of advice, and you know what? It's very true. If you're in a circumstance that you don't like, if you're in a situation that you don't like, you have three options. You can accept the situation for what it is, find a way to align your attitude to a place where you accept the situation, because there's nothing you can do to change it. So that's one option you have. You can alchemize the situation, which is basically taking those negative feelings or any part of that situation and changing it. So for example, when you have fear, finding a way to use that to motivate you. That's basically what alchemizing is. Just taking what you're given and blooming where you're planted, and transforming that situation into something that can be good, or something that is more progressive. Or you can ascend the situation. So you can find a way to overcome the situation. You can find a way to rise above the situation, no matter what it is. So when you consider those three options, guess what? You put all of that power and responsibility into your own hands. You take it out of external circumstances, outside of people. You rely on God, and you do that inner work on yourself. And you can't do the inner work of other people for them as much as we want to. If you're a loving person, if you're a kind person, that's your natural inclination. You want to just take on everybody else's struggles, take on everybody else's problems, and be like, I got you. This is the solution. But guess what? Even if you have the solution, black and white, to their issue, doesn't mean that they're ready to accept it, because everybody has to come to terms with that within themselves. Everybody has to realize that they have more power over the circumstances of their life than they think. And living in that victim mentality, in that suffering mentality, that's a choice. That's a choice, okay? I had to learn this shit the hard way. So it's sometimes I come off, because I did that work on myself, and I feel, stronger now because of it. It wasn't easy, and I'm not always like that. But I feel like sometimes it comes off like I'm not empathetic, or I don't sympathize. But guess what? You want me to sympathize with your misery, with your suffering, when I can see that you're capable of overcoming the situation, of overcoming the problem? And I see you as equally capable as me, because I was able to do that. And I see you as equally capable as all of the people who overcame these terrible circumstances for themselves, because they stopped being the victim. They took the control back, So I'm just so over feeling guilty and feeling this sense of shame for wanting better. For why do I No, you don't have to apologize for that. You don't have to apologize for that. You don't have to explain like why you have a smile on your face, even if you have like other shit going on. Like, guess what? Life's always gonna life. Like, things are always gonna happen. Your attitude and your mentality will take you far. And you don't have to like feel guilty for knowing that there's better for you and wanting it just because other people aren't on board, just because it doesn't, like, this is the best that I can explain this feeling I've been having lately, but it's like we all have to stop apologizing for wanting better. You're allowed to want better for yourself. You don't have to explain why you want better for yourself. You get to have it. If you decide that you get to have better, you get to have better. Okay? I just want to like really relay that to people, because it's like you don't get a gold star on your chest, or like, you know, imagine like the end of your life. You don't get a round of applause because you suffered and you like, you know, really just went through hard shit, and you know, you were never happy because you were just so busy suffering. It's almost like sometimes people see that like misery and like that lower consciousness as a, you know, rite of passage, and as like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it comes off like I'm just over like thinking that we have to suffer to have a good life. Like, suffering will come regardless. Life is hard. Life isn't always peaches and cream, but we do have control and influence over certain aspects, and it's time that we bring ourselves out of that when you're ready. So, yeah, just don't feel guilty for wanting better for yourself. And if not everybody's on board for where you want to go, guess what? You don't have to explain. And you get to have that happiness and have that peace. And you get to strive for that no matter what it is that you have to do. You deserve that. You don't have to explain or feel like you have something to prove to, you know, reason with people about why you deserve XYZ. You get to have it, honey. Like, if you decide it, you get to have it, okay? I believe everybody gets to live the life that they choose they want to live, okay? I've seen over and over again examples of very strong people overcoming challenges and like not using their past trauma or past issues to be like they don't rely on that. That's not a part of their identity anymore. They recreated themselves literally from nothing, and they made their life the way that they want it. And they relied on God, and like they kept the faith, and they did what they motherfucking had to do. Okay? So I'm just tired of the victim shit. Like I'm cursing. It's like 8 in the morning, but I'm just tired of it. And myself too. Like, when I catch that in myself, I'm like, no. Like, we get to live our best life. Like, we don't have to apologize for wanting better for ourselves. We get to have that. If you like this video, leave me a like, leave me a comment. I came on very strong because I'm very passionate, and I'm sorry that I'm drinking Starbucks. I know that's politically incorrect. I have a gift card, and then I'll make my coffee at home, and I apologize. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. So leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more like this, and just take the power back. And like, we are just going to collectively like rise up and make ourselves better and make our lives better. That's what I wish for anybody watching this video. So subscribe.